So, in this segment, we're going to be talking about how HMRC are struggling to process 11 months worth of backlogged customs declarations. So, certain countries have been stung by customs declarations, and we're also seeing consumers stung by customs declarations or fees and whatever. So, it's not good if you're importing stuff from the EU. Anyways, HMRC is finally cracking down on widespread abuse of its delayed declaration scheme. Wow, who would have guessed if you delay asking people for money, they're going to abuse that system? Wow. Amid mounting concern that the Treasury could lose out on hundreds of millions of pounds because instead of funding and putting the money up front in order to claim back that money and more of it, so via customs declarations, or if you're in the HMRC taxes, if you put enough people to work in HMRC to chase people who've avoided tax, you would get a lot more money than completely hollowing it out so they can't do anything. A customs expert said that prior to the UK tax authority's decision to chase those failing to bring in delayed declarations to account, only a few household names had abided by the 6-month 175 concession for imports from the EU between the 1st of January to the 1st of July. I believe Percy Pigs is one of them because there was a big customs bill, I believe, on it, but don't quote me on that. Finally, we are seeing HMRC go after importers that have not made their delayed declarations yet, the customs expert told the Lodestar. As to what is outstanding, I don't know, but what is clear is that lots of non-UK companies in particular have not been submitting anything because HMRC would struggle to go after them because they're not based in the UK and we don't have any kind of agreements for us to chase them. The Treasury has promised HMRC extra funding to chase the non-compliant organisations. You'd think we have done that at the start of the year, no? When we knew this was going to happen. Sunak. HMRC warnings that full customs declarations goes live from the 1st of January urges importers that have not yet to file declarations to do so immediately. Wow, imagine not being able to chase big companies or companies in general for money. That sounds like such a pain. But a 5-month backlog sees some questioning whether the UK has the resources to process the declared declarations while simultaneously processing the new ones arriving daily. I wouldn't be surprised if they can't even process the ones arriving daily. Forget the backlog. I would not be surprised if they write some of those off. The actual processing of supplementary declarations by HMRC would not be an issue. Chief software will just do it, but Chief isn't active yet. I don't think it will be active until 2022, mid-2022 or 2023 from, I believe, the last video I've done on this a while ago. Said the customs expert, it is being able to make the declarations that is a bigger deal. Step 2 of the planner HMRC published confirms there are 2 options: either become authorised, which would be a real pain, or use an agent that is approved. However, that comes with issues if you are an approved agent. However, there are relatively few authorised agents, and those are still not receiving inquiries, suggesting that no one is acting on HMRC's advice because you ain't able to chase them, dog. That's why. You're going to struggle to physically go out and get that money. So why would they pay it? Why would they do any declarations? Nothing coming in is being checked anyways. Part of the issue is that delayed declarations are accounted for as supplementary and can only be made by a UK company approved to use a simplified import procedure known as a Customs Freight Simplified Procedure, a CFSP. Now, this is very jargony, but from what I can gather reading this article is that if you want to export things into the UK, there are customs declarations there, and what that means is that you would need some sort of agency, like in the private sector, to file a CFSP on your behalf and pay the customs duties on your behalf. You'd obviously pay them to pay the customs duties. The number of those certified remains relatively low, in part due to the approval processing times ranging from 4 to 5 months. That's way too long. Even with a perfect application, that's way too long to get approval. It does show you the lack of staff and expertise within HMRC to be able to deal with the problems that we knew we're going to face since Johnson came to power 2019. The bigger problem may be persuading brokers to become certified, as brokers processing EU imports as indirect clients are also left liable for any tax due, which the customs expert said would mean few would be willing to handle the backlog. So that's something we've spoken about before. So if there are any tax or anything else outstanding, it is the private sector company, the one that's helping with the customs, that would be liable for the amount rather than the company doing the actual export itself. If we process a declaration, we earn £35, which isn't a lot. But it also makes us jointly liable for the tax due, he explained. To give an idea of what we're talking about, we processed a declaration that had some £2,300 in duty owed. If customs comes and audits us, asks us to prove the origin, and we cannot, HMRC will ask us to fund the duty or go to the importer. So if there are any issues once it comes to the auditing phase, especially, essentially that company will have to either pay the tax duty or would have to go back to that company cap in hand and say, look, we got hit with a tax or whatever, we've been audited, we have to pay this much in tax, can you help us out? Which they're not going to do. But the importer in the EU could just say, come and get us, and HMRC won't and doesn't have to, because we are in the UK, equally liable and much easier to get a hold of. So those companies will just go bankrupt then. You'll see a load of limited companies try and pop up and do this, but given the fact that it takes 5 months just to get approval, and companies only paying £35 to get customs approvals, the money's not there. HMRC itself reports that just 34 companies, one fewer than the 35 the Lodestar counted in September, that can serve as indirect representatives. So only 35 companies in the entirety of the UK can do this, which is definitely nowhere near enough considering how much the UK imports from the EU. The customs expert said there was now concern in an effort to address the backlog. HMRC was watering down approval requirements, citing dealings with an authorised importer that should never have been authorised. So that's going to cause further problems when you start watering down the rules and getting in characters that should not be in this field. But that's up to the government and HMRC to figure out. It added, it was apparent that they had absolutely no idea what CFSP was, so much for it being the gold standard. The gold standard vehicle for customs declarations only offered to trusted importers. So essentially you would give the CFSP to companies you genuinely believe in, as these are simplified. And so these exporters would go to these indirect partners and say, like, oh yeah, we see you have a CFSP, so you can get the stuff in easier, and there won't be as many problems. But HMRC are giving these to companies apparently, allegedly, should not have them. So, and let's not forget here, the indirect partners are liable for any tax that has to be paid as well, especially if the company involved, the exporter, does not want to pay. Sorry about that, that's my cat. What's the mouse gone? There it is. There's a bit more from the doc, Anna Jawozeska, saying, hearing more and more about companies that have been contacted by HMRC about incomplete customs paperwork submitted for imports in 2021. Seems like compliance is starting to be enforced, which by the sounds of it does. She does also talk about how, on a side note, I thought HMRC addressed the issue of liability under CFSP to encourage more brokers to apply. So that's something HMRC are apparently looking at, or something she thought they had looked at. But point being is that it's not, there's no massive incentive to become one of these indirect partners, because it doesn't pay that much, and you are liable for any tax, which would very easily clear you out of any profits and any money you've made. So yes, it's good HMRC are enforcing these. What it does mean, I think, is more consumers are going to be tagged with customs fees as well. So that's going to be very interesting. We've read more and more stories, especially in the run up to Christmas, that people are being charged, £70 for certain imports. So this is very fun for people, and you should be careful about where you're buying your goods from if you live within the UK, because you could easily be stung by customs fees, which is no walk in the park. Remember, they charged me £15 for something I bought from Japan, and I was like, you what, mate? But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.